Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, I'm going to give you guys a complete guide for the brand new Brawler Shade. As you can see, I basically pushed Shade to 2k trophies on first day, so I've got a really good understanding of how good this brawler is in terms of his best game modes, his best matchups, also his best builds, and also 5 casual tips and 5 advanced tips as well. So with Shade, the first thing to know, of course, is that his main attack can go through walls, which is going to be really helpful, especially on maps with a lot of walls. He's going to be able to win a lot of different matchups with that. And of course, you've got this kind of new mechanic in the game where his damage is actually multiplied by 2, well, just doubled when you hit it in the middle. So of course you want to be aiming your attacks so you can try and get as much damage as possible. So Shade also has 2 traits, which is unheard of in Brawl Stars. I believe he can go over water and he can automatically charge his super, just like Cordelius and Buzz. So a really good mechanic, especially if you can play really defensive, you can get the super for free. So the super takes around 4 hits to get, but you can get it quicker if you use your automatic charging circle. So you can see 3 hits here, and then you'll need an additional 1, but if you stand close to an opponent for a little while, you can get it in 3 shots. His super allows him to go through walls, which is of course a really broken mechanic. You can literally go through these walls, unbreakable walls, and just attack the opponent whenever you want, which is crazy. Also, it lasts for 6 seconds and the speed stacks. So as you see here, I'm going to get faster and faster every single time, which is going to be absolutely crazy. I believe you can do this up to 30 times, which of course in a real game you're not going to be able to do. But just for example, I think you can probably get like 3 stacks in a row, which will make you absolutely crazy fast. Maybe look at that. That's about 7 stacks, which just makes you way too fast. So that's all the basics with Shade. So now let's go over his best build. So in terms of gadgets, you want to be using the long arm gadget, which is going to be by far the better one. It extends his range like crazy. His range is very limited, as you can see. It's just like Sam's main attack, but with the gadget, you literally look how far you can do. That is insane. It's going to help you build up supers, and I'll tell you why that's important in the future. And then with his star powers, you definitely want to use the shield star power. Hardened Hoodie gives you a 30% damage reduction shield for the duration of your super, which is 6 seconds, which is really good. Allows you to make some aggressive plays, whilst the other star power is just gives you a 1 second speed boost, which doesn't really help you out that much in my opinion. I mean, it's okay, but the shield definitely is going to help you win 1v1 interactions more. And then the other gadget is just terrible, so you want to use this build. As I said, after play testing for so many hours, definitely long arms gadget and this star power. I never switched away from this. And then I used a +1 gear just because this gadget is so good, but you definitely need a damage gear on Shade, and then you can opt for either +1 or the shield. You can never go wrong with that. Now let's run through his best game modes. So I tried to predict this with sneak peeks, and I think I was pretty much bang on with this. So S tier Brawl Ball, absolutely. Even if it was to receive several nerfs in the future, he's going to be really good in Brawl Ball because there's just so many good features about him, which will go into the future. You can just go through walls, make plays, just score really easily, change supers easily on this game mode. And you've got really good maps where there's a lot of throwers on, for example, like Super Beach, Pinball Dreams, Beach Ball, etc. As long as it's not a super long range map like Back Your Ball, then you're going to be good. Next up we have it, Gem Grab. So the maps to kind of avoid in Gem Grab, of course, are more open ones. Even Busher ones, he might struggle a little bit, but at least he can build up his super. They can't when it's really open. So you want to stay on maps like Minecart Madness, Acute Angle, and Gem Fort. And then with Heist, I did predict him being C tier. I just don't think he's going to be that good in Heist because there's just far too many brawlers with hyper chargers that can just do better. He's still okay though, maybe good as a good late counter pick. Then we've got Bounty. So again, he's only really good on maps with a lot of walls, whilst in rotation right now it's only really Canal Grande in the ranked rotation. But there are some Bounty maps which, if they come into the ranked rotation in the future, like Layer Cake, Dry Season, he could be pretty good on. And then Knockout, again, it's going to be really hard for him to build up super, so absolutely D tier. People are just going to be able to keep a range against him, and he just can't get super there. And then finally Hot Zone, absolutely S tier, because people are having to come towards you, which will help build up his super through the automatic charging circle. And you see a lot of throwers there on maps like Open Business, Parallel Plays, Duel and Beetles, where he can just easily go through walls and just make so many good plays. So now let's move on to the matchup tier list. You can see it on the screen right here. So the higher they are in the tier list, the easier it was for me to face off against them on ladder and everything else. So I will say these matchups might change. My opinion may differ the more I play, but this is just first glances. So in terms of F tier, these are the brawlers that I struggled to face off against the most. Mainly these are going to be tanks, and they're going to be high DPS brawlers. So Surge, high DPS brawler, RT with his super with the gadget I just can't face off against him. Stu with mobility, couldn't get close, etc. Jackie, Frank, you know the gist. And then D-tier brawlers are normally tanky brawlers or other high DPS brawlers, and also some snipers, because mainly Shade will struggle on those longer range maps. But of course, if it's a shorter range map, I can just beat snipers easily, but you get the idea there. C-tier, these are just going to be pretty versatile brawlers. You know, sometimes I can beat them, but then when they build up super, etc., it is pretty hard just because they will have more DPS in a 1v1, etc. B-tier brawlers, so some of these you might be surprised about, Gale and Rico, but you can beat them, especially if you hide behind walls a lot of the time. Your super is just so dominant in that 1v1. Rico's squishy as well, so you should be able to beat a lot of these in that 1v1. A-tier brawlers, a lot of these were just so easy, so whether they're just bad in the meta, you know, brawlers like Bo, just so easy to beat, Bonnie, Poco, Ems, even though if they were good in the meta, they could probably counter Shade. I just walk all over them, so I just had to put them in A tier. Again, brawlers like Janet, Eve, Ruffs are just not consistent enough. They just can't have the damage output, and Shade can overwhelm them so easily. And of course, S tier brawlers. So I will say though, throwers sometimes can have a good matchup into Shade. I know I've put them in S tier, that's just wild, but most of the time Shade can just get super pretty easily against them still with the gadget, and then one super, it's pretty much over for these throwers. Same goes with like Mortis, Kenji, and Edgar. In that initial first 1v1, you might have an okay chance in killing him, but once he gets one super, it's literally over. So now moving on to 5 casual tips, starting off with the first one. Might sound so simple, but it's to aim every single shot. I know, even myself included, can be inclined to just spam auto aim and panic when people are up close, but with Shade, you still want to aim every single shot. Main reason being is because it literally doubles his damage, which is insane. That can win you so many matchups, and you know, you stack 2-3 of those shots, you can nearly deal 10k damage with 3 shots, which can kill pretty much every single brawler in the game. So it's so essential to aim. Another casual tip is to use your automatic charging super circle, especially against bad matchups. So this is really key because you can play this very similar to brawlers like Cordelius and Buzz. This will really help you adapt, and a lot of the time you might be inclined to just run it down even against your bad matchups with high DPS. Just try and use your walls to your advantage, charge up that super automatically, because your super will literally be a cheat code to win every single 1v1. Casual tip number 3 is to make sure to abuse your super, especially against brawlers that literally cannot hit you through walls. So there's a lot of brawlers like that, but in particular assassins just get absolutely screwed over by your super. So just make sure that you can just go over to them, abuse them as much as possible, go in and out of walls, just stay inside of walls even, and just sit there and watch the assassins just be so angry, because Mortis players, Edgar players, they can't hit you. Casual tip number 4 is to make sure that you're just using the super ability to go in and out of walls as much as possible. So some people might just literally stay inside of that wall, and that's just not effective, because you want to use that speed boost, and you want to just make sure that you're going in and out of walls and just being unpredictable, trying to charge your next super. It's always important to try and cycle it as much as possible, because without his super, he's terrible. So again, use it effectively. Don't be afraid to make plays, be aggressive, especially with the shield stockpile. And casual tip number 5 is don't be afraid to just use your gadget to build up your super. So especially in really hard matchups, you don't have to use your gadget to finish off kills or etc. You just need a super, and then once you build up that first one, you can then start to take over the map. So you might see sometimes I might even use 2-3 gadgets to literally get my first super, because Shade's range is very limited. His gadget can really help him build up that super. So now moving on to 4 advanced tips, starting off with the fact that your speed can stack with the more supers that you use. So I already spoke about this before. People have probably seen the videos where you're just flying around a training cave, but it can be very overwhelming and effective in play. So the reason why it's so good is just even cycling 2 supers just gives you such a crazy speed boost. If you can cycle 3 speed boosts, it's literally over for the opponents. So just make sure that you're trying to activate that super before your super expires. So if you didn't know, it basically takes 3 hits and then a little bit of automatic charging, or of course 4 hits. Your main attack also pierces opponents, so if you can just hit 2 opponents twice, then you get your next super and you just go crazy fast. So just abuse this mechanic as much as possible, because I feel like it's going to get nerfed in the future. Advanced tip number 2, it might sound really simple, but it's to use your gadget on as many people as possible. The reason being is because it can help charge your super just way faster. Again, what I like doing, even if it just seems really dumb, it just enables you to cycle super so crazy. So a lot of plays I end up doing quite frequently is when I have my super, I'll go in, if there's multiple people, just pop my gadget, and sometimes I can get all 3 of them or just 2 of them, and that helps cycle through to my next super even faster, so then I can get another speed boost. This cycling is so toxic and it's just led me to overwhelm opponents and team wipe them with ease, so abuse it as much as possible. Tip number 3 is that you can go outside of the map inside of Brawl. So again, I don't know whether this is a bug and whether they'll fix it in the future. Some people think it's pointless, but on my push, especially towards 2k on the first day, it was so good in just getting so many goals. Again, if the opponents are like towards their goal defending, sometimes it can be pretty hard to score if you haven't got a wall break or just some big tanky brawler, right? So if you just use a super with shade, you can just flank enemy lines. Of course, you got someone literally pinching you who you can't even shoot, and then of course you got your normal opponents on the map. It's just such a broken mechanic. It's kind of crazy to me. I think it's definitely one you need to abuse. And then advanced tip number 4 is to just abuse your super as much as possible. So the reason why I'm saying this again, it's because in really bad matchups it could take you forever to charge that super, but very often what I'll do is once I get that one super, I'll just try and fly to the easiest matchup possible. And again, you want to go for the objective. So for example, in gem grab, you can just go over to Piper and just get the gems really easily because that super is just so easy to abuse and no one can do anything about it for those 6 seconds. Again, in Brawl, you can just make really game-changing plays. In Hot Zone, you can just overwhelm the opponents. You just need to go for the objective as quickly as possible when you use this super because it is literally one of the best inside of the game and you can just abuse so many matchups so easily. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know whether I missed out on any tips in the comment section below. I don't think there's actually any real good tech with Shade, mainly because it's a very easy brawling concept in terms of his main attack. So pretty hard to find really minute details. But yeah, let me know down in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys next time.